Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. It's so nice to see all of you here, and thank you for deciding to spend part of your Sunday afternoon with us. My name is Catherine Black, and I am the founder and artistic director of Classical Healing Keys. Now, all of you know that this is a stigma-free concert, but what does that mean? Put simply, we are using music as a platform to reduce the stigma, that negative attitude towards people living with mental illness. And we are introducing resources local to upstate South Carolina to help people feel comfortable seeking for help. Sometimes we might feel afraid of admitting that we're struggling, afraid of being judged or seen as weak. Stigma prevents many people from healing. But sometimes I've found that misconceptions surrounding mental illness aren't necessarily obviously harmful. For example, when I was a freshman in college, I went to see a counselor for a challenge I had faced since childhood. An irrational and debilitating fear of descending stairs. At the end of my sessions with this counselor, he told me that I likely had a predisposition towards OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. Now, if you're like me and my family at the time, you might be wondering, what does irrational fear have to do with OCD? Isn't OCD where people like things to be neat and in order, or maybe they color code everything, or have an obsession with cleaning? I've never been particularly organized. I'm not any more scared of germs than most people, and I don't have an urge to wash my hands all the time. Why would I have a predisposition towards OCD? It wasn't until I was diagnosed with OCD a couple of years ago that we found out what OCD is really like. To put it simply, OCD is a pattern of unwanted thoughts and fears that drive you to doing repetitive behaviors that take up a lot of time and get in the way of day-to-day routines and responsibilities. Sometimes I wonder if my family and I knew that this was a real debilitating illness, that it wasn't the oversimplified, misleading stereotype many people talk about, if I might have done some more research and maybe been better prepared to recognize and regulate. Thankfully, by the time I realized that something wasn't quite right, that taking 30 minutes to write a 2-sentence email on a regular basis was not healthy, I knew where I could get help. If you look in your programs, you will see that our speakers are talking about hope. Yes, there is pain and darkness. Yes, there is stigma, and yes, there are misconceptions. And also, yes, there is hope. There is music, and there is a community of people who are ready and willing to help. I'd like to introduce the Vice President of Classical Healing Keys.
Switch sides.
This is Alison Hughey.
Thank you, Catherine. It is such a pleasure to get to collaborate with Catherine in Classical Healing Keys and sharing ways in which music can help us with our mental health, help us with our awareness of our mental health, whether we have a diagnosis or not. Even if you don't have a diagnosed mental illness or condition, you have mental health. We all face challenges, we all face stressors, but it's important to be able to identify when we need to reach out for help, whether that be talking with a friend or listening to a good piece of music, performing a good piece of music, even if it's singing in your shower, or going to a professional. So there's so many different avenues to get help and so many different levels of our mental health. I think it's fascinating, as Catherine mentioned, there's hope, and we're learning more and more about how our brain, how our body and nervous system react to music. I think that's fascinating. As a music therapist, I bring in different types of music. and I love classical music at heart as well, and so I love getting to share that side of classical music and mental health with Catherine and Classical Healing Keys. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you, and help me welcome Kaylin Good to the stage.